guys, welcome back to my channel. If you happen to be new here, my name is Jess. Today's going to be a little bit more of a negative video, but not so negative. It's not going to be rambly, it's not going to be rant or anything like that. As you can tell from the title, I'm actually going to be talking about my top disappointing books of 2017. This list is much shorter than my favorite books of 2017. There's only, I think, like 7 on here. Some of these will not come as a surprise to you guys because I've talked about them before. A few of them will because I haven't gone in depth on why I dislike them so much, and we should really get started because as much as I gushed about the books that I love, I have so much more to say about the books that I disliked because for me, I am such an easy reader. I tend to really love a lot of books. If you actually look at my Goodreads, I give a lot of books 4 or 5 stars, but these books were like 3 or below, and I have so much to say about them because I did not like them, and I feel like a lot of people may have loved these, and I want to know if you've read some of these, why you liked them so much, and why maybe I was wrong, maybe I should give them a second chance, maybe I should continue with the series, things like that. But just let me know in the comments below, but let's go ahead and get started. So the first books that I'm actually going to talk about are, I'm not going to talk about for too long because I've done like reviews on them, I did Hypernaut on them. I just didn't really like them. It would be the Duology, The Six of Crows, and Crooked Kingdom. The reason why this is on this list is because I went into it expecting so much from it and I was severely let down, and I think it's because, as you guys know, I do not like Kaz. I think Kaz is a very terrible character. Now, that is my opinion. Obviously, if you like Kaz, that's totally fine. I'm so glad that you love this book, but for me and my background, it was really hard to read him. I have friends who love this series. I have a few friends who hate this series, and that's totally fine. That is just my opinion on why I did not like Kaz. However, I loved a lot of the other characters. I did enjoy the setting of it, but I felt like it kind of was lacking a little bit, and I don't know if it's because the Grisha trilogy is one of my favorite series from this year, but I couldn't get into it as much as I wanted to. I actually DNF'd Crooked Kingdom, so I think if you are going into the book and you don't have like the background that I have, you may really enjoy it, and like I said, that tends to be the trend that people just love this series so much, and I loved the writing for it, but just for me, it was really disappointing because I wanted to love this series so much and it had been so overhyped that I was severely let down. And if you guys want to know like my full thoughts on that, I will put in a card here, my review on The Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. Now this might be kind of an unpopular opinion, but I did not like Acha War. I wanted to love that book so much, but with all the other books when I read them, I was into the story immediately, and for this one it took me probably 3/4 of the book for me to actually even enjoy the book. I wanted to love it so much because, as you guys know, Akamath was one of my favorite books of 2017, but Acha War really left me wanting more from the story. It was so slow, and I feel like there were a lot of things that Sarah threw in there, like representation here, representation there, and you get a mate and everybody gets a mate, and it was too much. Now, I'm excited to see what she does with the rest of the series, but I will say so far Acha War is probably the most lackluster of the 3. I did really enjoy like the fighting and the war in the book, but the ending was too perfect. The fact that nothing terrible happened, the fact that this is like, it was such a big war and it was like, you know, it was gonna change everything and everybody kind of came out unscathed, and that just, I didn't like it at all. Like, if you guys know the big cliffhanger in the book, you know, what happens almost at the very end, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, never mind, it's fine. Like, Sarah just didn't, I feel like she didn't want to piss off the fandom, but I feel like because of that, a lot of us who were wanting it to be like a substantial series were kind of like, this is very unrealistic and this doesn't make any sense to me. And I actually have a friend who sold her entire series because Acha War pissed her off so much. But I did overall like the series. It's just Acha War was very lackluster for me. It was so slow and so tedious, and I think I read the other 2 in about a day, and it took me almost a week to read this one. Now the next book I want to talk about is disappointing because it was actually recommended from a friend, which doesn't say anything about her, but the way that the book was kind of, you know, presented to me was like a female Avatar, if you guys are familiar with Avatar: The Last Airbender, because it does deal with like elements and controlling elements, and that would be Roar by Cora Carmack. I have never read anything else by Cora Carmack, but from what I hear, she does kind of do like romance stuff normally, and that was so evident in the book. Now, I hate love triangles. I hate the guy who thinks that he's gonna get the girl no matter what, and the guy who's like, oh no, but I'm a good guy, and the main character was just, she was so airbrained and just like didn't understand what was happening, and she was just like, well, I'm gonna go off to do this thing, and it made no sense to me. She is like a queen, essentially. She's about to be a queen and she's supposed to be able to fight storms. Well, she doesn't have any power, and her mom magically somehow keep that under wraps, and I feel like that is something that you would need to cultivate as a child to be able to do, so no one catches on to what's happening. It was so unrealistic to me, and the love scenes and the like, oh god, I did not like it at all. I think I gave it like 3 stars when I rated it, but I have since then bumped it down to like 2 stars because it was just so hard to read. The tropes were there, the magic system was cool, but it was not that unique. I don't know. I didn't like it at all, but there were parts of it that I did enjoy, but overall I just think that it was like a waste of like the week it took me to read it. Now the next book I want to talk about is actually really hard because I love almost everything by this author, but it would be Prey by Michael Crichton. I love Michael Crichton. The Jurassic Park, duology is like one of my favorite books of all time. I love his writing, but Prey for me was so hard to read. And as somebody who really enjoys his writing style, people always ask me, oh, what should I read? What should I read? And I never really know where to start people, but I can always say, do not read Prey first. Prey was such a hard read. It was slow. It was awkward. It's about these nanoviruses, like these nanomachines that they escape because they're developing them, and they escape into the world and they start like possessing people and doing these things and like, killing people. They do have the ability to kill. And for me, I know it's science-based because that's kind of, if you guys don't know Michael Crichton's thing, a lot of his stuff does revolve around science, which I think is why I love his writing so much. But this book was just really hard to read. Nothing really happened. And as I said, as somebody who does really enjoy Michael Crichton's writing, it was so hard to get into, and I've never had that trouble with any of his other books, so I definitely, probably should have skipped that one because it did kind of taint my view on him. I haven't picked up anything else since, but I don't know, I just didn't really like it, and it was just really hard to get into. Like, for me, if I'm like 100 pages in and I'm kind of like, I don't know, I should probably DNF it, but I didn't. I pushed through hoping that it would become better, and it did not, and it was a complete letdown for me. Now the next books I want to talk about are actually a series, and I have not finished the series because I, finished the last one and then was like, I'm not gonna keep reading this. And I think I had like 2 or 3. I did actually sell this series, that's how much I disliked it. It'd be Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. I am sorry, but the tropes in this book, the writing in this book, the characters, I didn't like the characters. I liked Cal, and that's about it. I did not like the romance in this book. It's not even slow burn, it's just freaking annoying. I don't like the magic in this anymore. I used to really think that it was like kind of cool, like everybody does like elemental stuff, and then like I said, it's not really that original. So the one thing that I liked about this book isn't even that great. The storyline was really odd as well. I like the world that they live in, but for me, like the world and characters for this book, I think both needed to be good for me to enjoy it, because personally I don't like Victoria Aveyard's writing style. I feel like it lacks a lot of substance, and I'm really sorry if you like this because this is a super popular series for people, but I just don't like it. And this is the series I've asked about before on whether or not I should continue it. I did just stop, and I probably won't continue. I did buddy read Red Queen with a friend, and then I read the other ones by myself, and I'm just done with it. It's too lacking. It takes me forever to read the books, and I just don't have any interest in continuing it. Now, the very last book I want to talk about is actually the most disappointing book that I have read in 2017. And this will not come as too much of a shock to some people because I've talked about it before on my channel and how much I dislike this book. It would be Winter Song by S.J. Jones. This book was so freaking confusing. It had the air of wanting to be this beautifully written book because it does kind of throw back to, like old writings, and I'm not gonna be the best at describing that, but it wanted to be written in a way that it could not like back itself. It was very poetic and like, like sonnets and, all these things that is based around music, and you can tell that she wanted it to have more substance than it did, and I was so confused. Now, I love stories like this. I like, the overall story. I think if somebody else had written it, I would have really enjoyed it, but it was a lot of just like her being lost in the underground and her trying to appease, the Goblin King, and, him being like, yeah, well, I don't freaking care, and all of his wives, and I didn't like it. I didn't like the other characters. I didn't like any of the characters in this book, frankly, until like the last like 30 pages. Then I really started liking the Goblin King, but it was like a complete 180 for his character. Now, I may still read the second one if it's more about him, but the main character, I hated that book so much I could not remember her name anymore. I thought that book was so stupid. I did not enjoy it at all, and I know this is like another fan favorite of people, but I don't understand why, because it wanted to have a lot happen in it, but nothing freaking happened in it. She goes down to the underground and they kind of like start this relationship, and then she leaves the underground, and that's the entirety of the freaking book. And most of it is just, like I said, her spent running around trying to figure out where the hell she is. And I didn't like it at all. I didn't like it. I don't know how it's as long a book as it is. It could have been like a short story or something, and then maybe it would have been better, but I hated that book. I hate that book so much that I actually gave it away, which I never do. Alright guys, so that is it for today's video. Once again, I'm sorry if I spoke about books that you loved. Reading is so different for so many people. A lot of people like books that I don't like. A lot of people dislike books that I absolutely love. So take it with a grain of salt. Obviously, my problems that I have with books won't be the same problems that you may have with books. It might be something that you actually really enjoy about a book. So that is it for my wrap up for 2017. If you guys haven't seen it yet, I will link in the cards above my favorite books of 2017 for a little bit more of a positive video, because as you guys know, I don't really like being negative on my channel, but I hope you guys are having a good week, and I'll see you guys in my next one.